In a 10 Moondrop. As a kid, Freddy Fazbear's used to be my favorite place on Earth. The animatronics were incredible, more advanced than anything I'd ever seen, and the characters were lovable and unique. Nowadays, they still have the technology beyond our time, stuff I'm sure the government would love to get their hands on, but the atmosphere and the characters have changed. They've gotten creepier and changed from that old mom and pop shop feel that they had at their old locations. And something about this new sun animatronic just gives me the heebie-jeebies. I can't quite put my finger on it. It's like it has a whole other side it doesn't want you to see. That's what it feels like anyway. And once I ran into it alone, it proved me right. The way it changed was horrifying, nothing like I would have ever expected. It's like it shed its skin to turn into that moon thing. And its voice, it got so much worse, like it had been smoking since it was born. And its nails? Oh my, it was so sharp, at least the pain went away quickly. And at 9, any price. Taylor had always loved Five Nights at Freddy's. They had all the games. Their whole room was decorated in Five Nights at Freddy's merch, from their bedspread to their dresser to their slippers. But one thing they were missing was a glam rock Freddy mask. Taylor had been searching everywhere online to find one, but the only one he'd ever found got away from him. It was on eBay, and he lost a bidding war for it. In his rage, he'd managed to find out who got it and sent them an angry message, insisting he would have paid them any price for it. That night, he woke up in the middle of the night to hear a loud thud coming from outside his bedroom door. Groggily, he assumed that it was just the dog and woke up. When he opened the door though, he saw a tall man standing before him. He was facing away, but as he turned around, you could see he was wearing the glam rock Freddy mask. Any price? He asked, as he pulled out a large kitchen knife. In at 8, the secret level. The Christmas update for FNAF Help Wanted's flat mode was something interesting. It created a new area in the Pizza Party minigame that you could go to instead of ending the game. Everyone was making videos about this new never before seen location, and I was excited to check it out for myself. That was a big mistake. I got to the back room of the Pizza Party game once again, and this time looked to the right where a new door opens up. I clicked it and the screen goes black, but when I can see now, the level is nothing like I was shown on YouTube. Maybe they had a YouTube safe version, like maybe Scott had sent them a copy with another room. Maybe they were planning this all in unison, but oh my god, it was horrific. It was still outside that coming soon billboard like the original that was advertising security breach, but this time it was like a meet Santa kind of thing too, where kids were lining up to sit on Santa's knee and tell him what they wanted for Christmas so their parents could know. And I say were because, well, I don't think they were waiting in lines anymore. The snow was red and soaked with what I can only guess was the kids' blood, and their bodies were still laying there. 15 kids, for the 15 victims of Purple Guy. The Santa was still there. I figured he was dead too, but instead, he removed his beard and somehow it was Vanny from the next game. I don't know how I didn't see it before. It felt like when Harvey Dent didn't realize it was the Joker until he takes the face mask off, but Vanny stood up and I quickly turned my game off before she had the chance to add me to her collection. And at 7, the glitch trap virus. While refreshing scottgames.com, I was waiting for a teaser for Security Breach, but then the screen went black. After waiting for a while, I saw something flash on the screen. It looked like a weird glitch trap. After it appeared, my computer got the blue screen of death, so I had to shut it off. But when I turned it back on, there were all kinds of numbers flashing by. But I swear I saw Springtrap a few times. 5 minutes later, and the screen was tinted red, and I started hearing church bells. Distorted church bells. It rang 12 times, and surely enough, it was midnight. But I swear it was like 3:30 30 seconds ago. But then it showed my desktop, and the only icon was SC877 Games. Eventually I clicked it because why not? And when it loaded, it was a close-up version of Glitch Trap's face, and it played jump scare audio. Text on screen read afton_virus.exe has started running and kept showing that over and over. After saying that a few times, the computer shut off and wouldn't turn back on. And now I have a strange desire to see my son again. And at 6, Chica's Party World. After the fall of Freddy Fazbear's, the IP to the characters were still intact, so an individual named Riley bought the rights to Chica and Freddy, the yellow bird with her signature cupcake, and the company's iconic bear. They opened a new pizzeria with new branding, inside what used to be an old mall. It had all the amenities they needed after all, plus a little more. We would regularly have officers at the location, constantly checking in to make sure that Afton never showed his face. He never did. But then we noticed neither did the owner. After talking to some employees while off duty, they had never met the owner either. The man was said to only arrive after the place had closed down and take the earnings from the register. We ran the owner's name against the database and there was nobody in the city with the name Riley Dramakovich, so after attaining a warrant, we discovered what we had feared most. Riley was an alias for one Vanessa Afton, William's estranged daughter, who, after running this business under the alias, had used it to kill 15 more kids in the span of a week. All after after hours, and all following a pink chica around the back after they had gotten home. Suspect was arrested at 11:36 p.m. on Friday, June 18, 2027 by arresting Officer William Stagnan. Halfway through into number 5, Stuffed. Finally, my parents are bringing me to Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex with David and Joey. When we got there, Glamrock Freddy was already out in the dance zone. David, Joey, and I ran over there immediately because we all love Glamrock Freddy. He was throwing tickets around for the prize counter and said that he has more in the back. He went to get them while we collected the remaining ones. When he took a while to come back, the other children went away, but we had just gotten there, and he left so soon. So, Joey, David, and I went to go find him. We enter one of the rooms and the door closes. We turn around and see some form of weird Bonnie. It was white, and it even looked like a girl. Joey loves Bonnie though, so we went to give him a hug, and got so excited that after he hugged him, he went into shock and fainted. He must have had ketchup with him because it started pooling around him. Then everything went cold. Mom told me to keep my jacket with me, but then I see David fall over too, and then Bonnie picks him up. Then the lights go off, and I hear metal clanging together. And at 4, Vanny.exe. Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach has just come out. I've been a fan of the series since the beginning, especially after everyone was making their theories about the story. I wanted to play Security Breach when it came out, but I never really had money. I was looking for the game online, but all I would get was links to like pre-order it and stuff. The only links I was actually finding were to a website called Pirate Bay, and they were using a program called uTorrent. I tried installing the program and getting the game, and it worked for a while, but instead of being called Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, it was called Vanny. I guess it was to make things sneakier. I loaded the game when it installed, but it wasn't a Five Nights game. The game only had Vanny on the menu. I knew who she was because of all the theories online. She was staring at me, but her eyes always followed me. Not my cursor, but me. I loaded the game and I was the security guard, but instead of being in the security room, I was in the main door to the place. Text faded on screen saying escape, and I heard things fall behind me. I turned around and nothing was there. I tried opening the door, but the door was locked, and I needed to find a key. I went into the first room I saw, and it was the closet. There was nothing in there, but I turned around to leave, and Vanny was standing behind me. She stared at me for what felt like forever, before walking out of sight. I exited the room and checked the others. There was no key at all, and as I head back to the main room, Vanny was there at the door, key around her neck, knife in hand. Getting close to the end, and in number 3, Fake Monty. For my birthday, my dad gave me a surprise, but he said I would have to wait for all my guests to arrive before I could get it. Once all the guests had arrived, it was just a short time passing before the doorbell rang. It must have been our pizza, I thought, so I ran to answer it. I swung the door open, and standing in front of me was a massive animatronic who I knew as Montgomery Gator. Their head tilted from side to side, and they looked me up and down. I became extremely uncomfortable as it felt like their eyes were laser focused on me. Soon my dad came up behind me and greeted the animatronic. Apparently it was just a hired performer. At least that's how he talked to them. However, when Monty came inside, from their movements and the clunk of their feet, they didn't sound human. They seemed like a real animatronic. The party was awesome, and I slowly started to become more comfortable around Monty, even enjoying the presence of my favorite fake animatronic for the day. However, at the end of the party, when Brad's mom came to pick him up, we couldn't find him anywhere. We also couldn't find Monty, who had apparently left without saying goodbye or without getting paid, according to my dad. All we did was find a bit of blood on the backyard fence. Penultimately, in at number 2, Locked In. Pitch black. Like nothing you've ever seen. Not a sound was made. Not yet, anyway. Then, the nightlights turned on, tinted red. Then a voice, initiating nighttime protocols. That's when it starts. You can almost hear your blood pumping faster as the 4 alcoves light up. Roxy, Chica, Freddy, and Monty, the main animatronics of Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex. As the lights turn on, the animatronics themselves come to life, and they don't really take a liking to intruders. I run to the door, but it slams closed in front of me, and the gust of wind nearly knocks me over. I take a second to pause and think, how am I going to get out of here? When all of a sudden my thoughts are cut short by a bright light pointed directly at me. That same voice that initiated nighttime protocols calls out again. Intruder in the entrance cortex, priority target. I hear the walking of the animatronics increase. They're heading my way. Anywhere I move, the light follows me, until I see a hand reach out from the darkness. Come with me, Gregory, it says. It sounds like a woman. I take her hand, and it's kinda furry, but then the lights turn off. And finally, in number 1, Roxy. It was Christmas Eve. I was so excited I couldn't sleep. I was laying in bed, but I just couldn't fall asleep. Eventually, I heard footsteps on the roof. Santa was here, so I had to fall asleep quickly, otherwise he would leave. I quickly shut my eyes, but as I do, I feel a hand on my shoulder. I look up and I see what I think is Roxanne Wolf. It has plastic like fur, sharp teeth, and a weird soothing smile. It motioned for me to follow him. I figured it was trying to help me see Santa, so I followed. We get down to the living room and I look to the tree. No Santa. I get upset because he must have left, but I hear something in the chimney. I jump for joy, but Roxy moves in front of me. As I turn around to see Santa, something else comes down the chimney. It looks old and torn and dirty, like it had just dug itself out of a grave. It looks like Freddy, but bigger and scarier. This Roxy moved me back, getting me out of the way, and motioned for me to run to the door. I didn't know what to do, at least until the giant bear burst through my back window, carrying the body of my father, who was dressed in a Santa costume. I closed my eyes, then everything went cold.
In a tent, I am Afton. My name is William Afton. I am doing my best to handle what's been happening to me because I am stuck in hell. I have been cursed for my attempts to put my beautiful boy back together. Now the creatures I created in order to aid in that goal have been sent to torture me for no reason. Anyone would have tried to save their child, and if they had my technology, my mind, my brilliance, they would have done the same as me. I keep getting told about the one I shouldn't have killed. I was the one who was killed. My boy was my life. His life was directly tied to mine, so of course I tried to get him back. How dare you try to punish me for that? You cursed me for doing something any parent would. Leave me to my demons. In a Nine Chicas party world. After the fall of Freddy Fazbear, it was clear the stage was set, no pun intended, for another contender in children's entertainment. I'm going to keep using that line whenever it fits. And after the unfortunate closing of Circus Baby's Pizza World, someone saw an opportunity. So an individual named Riley bought the rights to Chica, the yellow bird with her signature cupcake, and they opened a new pizzeria with new branding, but still the same building. It had all the amenities one needed after all. We would regularly have officers at the location, constantly checking to make sure that Afton never showed his face. He never did, but then we noticed. Neither did the owner. After talking to some employees while off duty, they had never actually met the owner. The man was said to only arrive after the place had closed down and everyone had left to take the earnings from the register. We ran the owner's name against our database and discovered that there was nobody in this city with the name Riley Dramakovich. So after attaining a warrant, we discovered what we had feared the most. Riley was an alias for one William Joel Afton, who, after running this business under the alias, he had used it to kill 15 more children in the span of 1 week. All after hours and all after following a pink chica around the back after they had gotten home. Suspect was arrested at 11:36 p.m. on Tuesday on June 18, 1996 by arresting Officer William Chaston. In a date melding. Hello, I was a beta tester for the new Freddy Fazbear Entertainment experience, where they were claiming they were trying to repair their reputation. However, they aren't. The game is an elaborate cover-up to try and hide and seal the man who is behind the missing children's incident into their game. However, I've made a terrible mistake. The entity they sealed in the game had tied itself to the previous tapes of the beta tester. She broke them apart, but I only found this out at the end. Smart move. Why would you put that most crucial point at the end? This entity has tried to merge with me before, but all that happened is I went up on stage. Ever since then, I've been trying to find him, but I can't. The corridor he came from has been blocked off by a metal wall, so I think that maybe he's gone for good. I'm dictating this while I continue my search, but Wait. What was that? I hear the sound of metal grinding on metal? It's the wall. It had a little hatch, and it's opening. Who's opening it? My God, it's him. Telling me to be quiet, because he can still hear me. And at 7, it's me. I got to have my birthday at one of the most fun places on earth. My parents were letting me have my 6th birthday at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. When we got there, my friend Brian was already there. After a few minutes, my other friends Jenny, Grayson, and Daniel showed up. Since it was their first time here, they decided to sneak backstage with my other friends to try and see Freddy himself. When we did, I ran over and hugged him. He hugged me back. I asked when Golden Freddy would be out and he said a few minutes, but to follow him where we can go get some pizza. He asked what my name was and I told him, Noah Blackley. We followed him to the back room, but he was gone, and a man in a purple sweater had arrived instead. The last thing I remember is screaming and someone banging on a locked door, and seeing my friends being put into some spare suits. I got Golden Freddy. A few years later, someone walked in looking for a job as a night guard. Someone on the phone greeted him and asked him his name. He said his name was Frank Blackley. Oh my God. It's him! Dad! Dad, it's me! Noah! It's me! And it's 6 juniors. I was with a group of buddies grabbing a few bevies at a bar down the block from me called Juniors. We were having a good time until one jerk showed up trying to get in. The bouncer stopped him and said he knew he wasn't allowed in. We don't know who this guy is. We've been coming here over a year and we haven't even heard of this guy. Then the jerk starts getting aggressive. The bouncer calls him William and asks him to stop. William shoves the guard a little until eventually the bouncer collapses. This William guy comes walking in and shouts for someone named Henry. The guy behind me stands up in response and asks William what he wants. William steps closer, to which I get ready to stand up, but Henry puts his hand on my shoulder to tell me to stay seated. Henry quietly said, You were killing kids, William. Making sure that we knew. William said if that's the way you see it and walked away. But before leaving entirely, he looked back at Henry, who was still standing, and said, "Call your daughter. Tell her I say hi." Before leaving for his car, Henry called his daughter and got no response, so my friends and I ran out to confront William. When we got outside, we stood face to face with a clown. She was really tall, pale, and had orange pigtails. I looked at my friends, heard the sound of metal on metal, then everything went black. Halfway through at number 5, Springtrap. This one is written like a journal, but I'm going to be skipping to the most important day of the bunch. Day 57. This suit has pierced every bit of exposed flesh. However, the mechanical nature of this suit have been able to help me move when the pain is too much. It is still me in the suit, and I must still continue my mission of putting my boy back together. I must escape from the cell that they have sealed around me. How am I supposed to break through? The vents. They couldn't have blocked off the vents. It's such an integral part of the building. I got inside and have been crawling for an hour, unaware of where I am or where I'm going. I finally see a light. I head towards it. However, when I get there, I see someone sitting in an office chair. He flashes a light, so I back away. How does he know that I'm here? Where do I go now? Maybe out front to try to find him. And at 4, back together. I know you miss me. I know you feel responsible, but is this really the right way to go? I'm here for a reason, aren't I? Sure, I was the one who died, but maybe this is a form of punishment for you, but salvation for me. I won't need to go my life knowing about what you've done. I won't need to deal with the repercussions of having your name. So, leave me be, Father. Let me rest. Don't put me back together. I am at peace, as are most of the children you've taken. There is one that isn't, but you'll meet them soon. If you put me back together, I will have no other choice than to ensure your empire is destroyed, along with every trace of your despicable deeds. This is how things are meant to be, so unless you want to ensure your own destruction, please, don't put me back together. In at 3, Midnight Motorist. It's done. The first one. My quest to find the answers of life in those who have just started it has begun. This being was standing outside the diner, green wristband, black hair. I know who it belonged to. Henry, the partner. The man responsible for the way I am. The man who made me imagine what if these creatures were alive. I'm driving home, covered in the blood of number 1. It's on my face, my suit, my hands. But it's around Halloween, so hopefully people think it's a stunt. The cops are coming. I changed lanes and let them pass. They must be after me. But they won't find me, especially if they can drive past me while I look like this. I need to get home. I need to make sure that they won't find me. I need a machine to help me. I'm sure I can find one. Or perhaps I can make one. In at 2, Chuck. Recently, I've been playing a lot of the Five Nights at Freddy's, all of the different games. 1, 2, 3, 4, and Sister Location are all amazing. But a side effect from all those games is very worrisome, and now I believe it to be real. Not in I believe these places really exist, but when I go to Chuck E. Cheese, I feel as if I am at Freddy Fazbear's. I see Freddy and the gang rather than Chucky and his gang. I see men in purple rather than workers. I don't know what to do. I've even seen kids be lured into the back. I told a worker and he says that that's ridiculous, so I decided to check it out. I went into the back rooms and looked for myself. When I checked though, I saw a man dressed in a Chucky suit in that same room. He saw me and asked what I was doing. I stood there silent because I know what's about to happen if I told him my true intentions. He ushered me out of the room and back to my parents, but then another Chucky came by to bring me back. I was very confused, but my parents let me. When I got out of sight, everything went black. Finally, in at number 1, break the cycle. He's still alive. Are you kidding me? He wasn't destroyed when I burned that terrible joke of a haunted house down? Fine, I have a plan to get all the remaining souls to their final rest. I need your help, Michael. I know that he's your father, but he's done unspeakable things. He's not really your father anymore. There's only one option. For the week, we will simulate a pizzeria and bring everyone back. The music will lure the others, and I will bring back my daughter with another bear. And your father will be back to continue his mission. Does he know about you? Do you know about you? Well then, I'm sorry, my boy, but I have some disturbing news for you. It may explain quite a lot, but you need to follow paragraph 4. It's the only way to break this cycle. But don't worry, I'll make sure you're at rest with your father's deeds.
Number 10. Any Price. Taylor had always loved Five Nights at Freddy's. They had all the games, their whole room was decorated in Five Nights at Freddy's merchandise, from their bedspread to their dresser to their slippers, but one thing they were missing was a Funtime Foxy mask. Taylor had searched everywhere online to find one, but the only one he'd ever found got away from him. It was on eBay, and after a bidding war for it, he lost. In his rage, he'd managed to find out who got it and sent them an angry message, insisting he would have paid them any price for it. That night, he awoke to hear a loud thud coming from outside his bedroom door. Groggily, he assumed it was the dog and got up to go check. When he opened the door though, he saw an intruder in his home, wearing the Funtime Foxy mask. Any price? They asked him, brandishing a large kitchen knife. Number 9. Payback. It couldn't be real. Funtime Foxy and the others had been locked away for so long. How could this be true? How could they be here? But the purple decaying body before him spoke with a collection of voices. Funtime Foxy is among them. You abandoned us, they said, and now you will pay. And friends, if you are loving this list and you love creepypastas and you want some more creepypastas, be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. And share your creepypastas in the comments below. I love reading creepypastas. They're fantastic. Such a fun exchange of creative writing. Number 8. Elizabeth's Friends. Elizabeth loved to come to work with her dad. There were always so many fun new friends to meet. There was Funtime Freddy and Ballora, and today he was making someone new. After this new friend was made, he promised to make an animatronic just for her. She played in the metallic halls, each hop as she played with her skip ball reverberating off its walls. She started to sing a little song and was delighted when she heard Ballora's voice from her gallery join in. And then Freddy began to join in as well. From there, she heard a new voice. She continued to sing and followed it to her father's laboratory. There she saw a new friend, a pink and white fox. Meet Funtime Foxy, her father said. As Funtime Foxy blinked its eyes open for the first time, it smiled at her. She smiled back. Then it looked at its surroundings, her father, and its expression changed. It seemed angry. You have imprisoned us, it said. It reached out and began to choke her father with its strong metal fingers. She watched as his body shook and spasmed. He was gesturing towards something. Elizabeth knew what, but she shook her head, her eyes wide. There was no other way though, she knew. She smashed the button on the podium with her fist. She was sad when Funtime Foxy collapsed to the ground, having been shocked. Somewhere inside her, she knew this was her legacy, and it made her scared. Number 7. All of Us. Sophie had just graduated school and was looking for a summer job to occupy her and help her pay her living costs during her final summer before setting out to look for something in her field in the fall. As she scoured the wanted ad, she noticed a job looking for a nighttime security guard that appeared to be part of Fazbear Entertainment and involved work in an underground facility where animatronics were held. She immediately got excited and was even prepared to make sure she went and got all the prerequisites needed before applying. However, she was confused but happy to see that there were none. The ad read no experience needed. She was the only applicant apparently, so Sophie ended up being hired. On the first day of her job, nothing much happened. On the second day, she noticed some of the animatronics holding areas had become open, but she managed to secure them again before the animatronics wandered off. On the third night, Funtime Foxy's holding area became unlocked, but when she went in to secure it and check in, Foxy was nowhere to be found. As she searched the room, she heard from above, "This is for all of us." She looked up, but could only see darkness squinting in the dim-lit room. She shined her flashlight up towards the ceiling, but did not have time to do anything else as Mangle's face, dripping with blood, greeted her. The animatronic jumped down, mauling her. Number 6. They're here. Josh was young when he discovered Five Nights at Freddy's. At first it scared him, but eventually he came to love the franchise, even going so far as to draw his favorite characters. He tended to draw Funtime Foxy a lot, but every time he drew Funtime Foxy, his older sister noticed that it appeared as though the animatronic was getting closer and closer in each picture. One night his sister came home to find Josh frantically coloring a page of paper light pink with a line down the middle. "Where's Foxy?" she asked Josh, admiring his work. He looked up at her with tired eyes. He didn't say anything, but merely looked down at the page and pointed. "That doesn't look like Funtime Foxy," his sister replied. Josh said one word. close. The lights went out. The room was pitch black. As both Josh and his sister scrambled to get to the lights, Josh reached out and felt a cold, metallic foot. Number 5. Perfect match. Funtime Foxy loomed over the body, looking down at it, hands still dripping with blood. Foxy turned off the recording system within, set it to rewind, and then hit replay. The sounds of screaming came from its voice box. Internally, Foxy pushed pause abruptly, and then tested out this newly saved voice for itself. "Hello, it's me, Jim," they said. The voice they spoke with was a perfect match for their victims. Number 4. I See You. Funtime Foxy has always been my favorite animatronic from Freddy's, so I was very excited when I was at the store with my mom and I saw a new toy on the shelf that was Funtime Foxy themed that I had never seen before. It was almost retro in terms of its appearance, and yet the make and packaging made it look brand new. It was one of those toys that you'd pull the string on and it would launch the figure up into the air. In this case, Funtime Foxy, or as it said on the box, your pal Flying Funtime Foxy. I begged my mom to get it, and because I had recently done well on a test at school, she got it for me. At home, I quickly unpackaged it and took it to my room to play with. Nervously, I held the end of the ripcord, pulling gently towards myself and launching it into the sky. However, once it was up there, it continued to spin with its arms outstretched, not seeming to want to come down. I chased it around my room, calling its name, but it always managed to dart just out of my reach. "I see you," it said, smiling down at me, before flying out of the window. I was sad and confused for a moment, until from the other room, I heard my mom scream. Number 3. Welcome to the party. I had always wanted to go to Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, and now my dreams were finally coming true. It was my birthday, and Freddy's also happened to be celebrating its anniversary on the same day, with an unveiling of a new animatronic. Halfway through my birthday, we made our way to the stage for the unveiling. There was a giant pink sheet under the bright spotlight, and Freddy came on. He swiftly pulled it off to reveal an animatronic that he said was called Funtime Foxy. "Everyone say hi to my new friend Funtime Foxy," Freddy chortled. We all smiled and shouted back, "Hi, Funtime Foxy!" But then, something went wrong. Funtime Foxy's eyes turned from orange to red, and their face plates moved back to reveal sharp teeth. Everyone screamed and began to run, but I got knocked backwards. By the time I managed to get back up, Funtime Foxy had found their way to me, holding a cake knife in one hand. "Welcome to the party," they said, raising the knife. Number 2. The Daring Escape. I had never been so scared in my life. I couldn't breathe. The sweat dripped from my brow, and I peered around the corner. I could just make out a flash of white before I pulled my head back behind the dismantled heap of animatronics. They saw me. They had to have seen me. I heard the heavy thud of their feet as they walked around the room searching for me. It was now or never, I thought. If I didn't do something soon, they definitely would find me, and then I'd be scooped. I had to make it to the safe house. I couldn't let any of them find me. I breathed in as deeply and quietly as I could before bolting out from behind the heap. What I hadn't realized was that my foot was actually caught in a wire. That fleeting moment of freedom flashed by me as I tripped and smacked my head off the floor. The pile of parts crashing down on top of me, spilling out around me. Funtime Foxy's eyes locked with mine. They had me now. Number 1. Fake Foxy. For my birthday, my dad gave me a surprise, but he said I had to wait for all my guests to arrive before I could receive it. Once all my guests had arrived, a short time passed before the doorbell rang. It must be our pizza, I thought, and I ran to answer it. I swung the door wide open, and standing in front of me was a massive animatronic, who I knew as Funtime Foxy. Their head tilted from side to side as they looked me up and down. I became extremely uncomfortable as it felt like their eyes were laser focused to me. Soon my dad came up behind me and greeted the animatronic. Apparently it was just a hired performer. At least that's how he talked to them. However, when Foxy came inside, from their movements and the clunk of their heavy feet, they didn't sound human to me. They seemed like a real animatronic. The party was awesome, and I slowly started to become more comfortable around Funtime Foxy, even enjoying the presence of my favorite fake animatronic for the day. However, at the end of the party, when Brad's mom came to pick him up, we couldn't find him anywhere. We also couldn't find Foxy, who had apparently left without saying goodbye or without getting paid, according to my dad. All we did find was a bit of blood on the backyard fence. Number 10. One of a kind. This story happened to a friend of mine. Todd had always been a big FNAF fan, so when I was invited to his birthday, I found a Foxy plushie online and asked my dad if he would buy it for him. He agreed and I gave it to him as a present. The odd thing was, when I was looking online, the only quantity for the plushie was 1, and the description read, "one of a kind." The next day after Todd's birthday, I sent him a text seeing if he wanted to come over and play video games with me on my Xbox, but he didn't answer. I went to his house just down the street after dinner to invite him, but his house was gone. In its place was a restaurant that appeared to be under construction. Number 9, Freddy plushie. My teenage son is a huge fan of FNAF, so I bought him a Freddy plushie. He fell in love with it, proving that if the theme is right, I guess, you're never too old for a plushie. However, at night, I noticed that the plushie was moving through the house. I often wake up in the middle of the night with it on my bed. Sometimes I wake up and it seems like my room isn't even my room, but is actually Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. One night I woke up from what I thought was a nightmare, where I was being stuffed into a giant life-size Freddy plushie, except that there was fluff stuffing in my mouth when I woke up. I made my son burn the plushie after that. Number 8, hide and seek. Sarah and Lisa loved playing hide and seek, despite the fact that they both knew it was pretty childish. They were also both big fans of the FNAF series. They both took turns when playing together as to who was it, and even played a themed game of hide and seek at recess sometimes, where one of them would be the animatronics and one would be the night security guard, playing like a FNAF themed hide and seek. One time when they were playing at recess, Sarah hid inside a hollowed bush from Lisa, who was playing as the animatronic. This time around, Sarah closed her eyes while she was hiding, but when she did, she found herself transported into Freddy's security room. She felt a hand on one shoulder. She turned around and opened her eyes, but instead of Lisa, it was Nightmare Freddy jump scaring her. Number 7, Night 8. My friend Eric told me this story, but I'm not sure if it's true. Apparently there's a glitch in his original FNAF game where you can access a bonus night, which he calls Night 8. Rather than being custom, it's a night where you're actually monitoring outside the restaurant by walking around and basically guarding the perimeter, while leaving the animatronics locked inside so they can't escape. The weird thing is, he said when he checked out his mobile tablet his character carried around outside, he noticed them calling his own name on the security feed. "Eric, why did you leave us?" they asked. "Eric, why don't you come back inside and play?" Eric is really good at FNAF, but this new level threw him for a loop, and one animatronic, Bonnie, somehow escaped the building. Just then the game froze and his computer started to power down. He heard his doorbell ring and a ghostly voice emanated from his computer speaker, telling him to answer the door and to come and play. Number 6, the mysterious restaurant. This is a true story. Chuck E. Cheese's has always been one of my favorite places to go. So when I got to pick where the family went this weekend for our family outing, you can bet that I picked Chuck E. Cheese. But when we got there, the restaurant looked different. It had been rebranded as Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. The animatronics inside were all different as well. My sister seemed to really like one named Chica, a chicken with a bib on her and a cupcake in her hand. The last time I saw my sister, she was holding Chica's hand and walking away. She went missing while we were there, and I never saw her again. Number 5, Golden Bonnie. I loved Fredbear's Family Diner. It used to be my favorite place to eat until it closed. I missed it terribly and hoped it would reopen. While I was out for a walk one day, it appeared my wishes had finally come true. I stumbled upon a poster in the mall advertising the reopening of my favorite restaurant on November 8th, right on the day of my birthday. I was excited and I begged my mom to let me have my birthday party there. She agreed. When the grand opening date came, my friends and I piled into my mom's van and we drove out to Fredbear's Family Diner. Except when we got there, I noticed it was different. It wasn't called Fredbear's Family Diner anymore. Instead, it was renamed Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. After some time at my party, Bonnie finally came out, but he seemed different. He was golden, like at the diner, but he talked to us directly, inviting us children to come along with him. "Do you want to have some more pizza and tickets, kids?" he asked. We answered with an excited cheer. "Okay, but then you have to come along with me." I followed him and he asked all of us what our favorite animatronic was. I answered Bonnie, before he pulled me into the back room. I found myself placed carefully in a Bonnie suit and then my eyes closed. When I awoke, I found years had passed and I found myself unable to talk. Anytime I tried, all I could hear was the voice of Bonnie through the suit's voice box. Outside the back room, I heard someone asking to work the night shift. The person revealed that their name was Michael Afton. My brother. Michael, it's me, I shouted. Brother, it's me. He didn't respond to my voice, and so I remained trapped at Freddy Fazbear's forever, determined to one day escape and get revenge. Number 4, Save Me. A girl named Vanessa was always known as a loner who kept to herself. Looking for a place to live and not having much funds, she was forced to move into a downtrodden apartment with the limited amount that she had for rent. As a welcome gift, her landlord left her a note with a game. The note apologized for any rumors that she might hear regarding him. Thinking this was odd, but nice, Vanessa chose to accept the gift. Later, while out in town, she heard a rumor that her landlord was the son of a serial killer, which was why the rent in her building was so affordable, and why almost no one in town chose to live there. Shrugging it off as the rumors that her landlord had warned her about, Vanessa returned home. However, she noticed on her way home that a golden bunny animatronic seemed to be following her everywhere she went. She confronted the bunny, trying to lash out at it, but her hand went right through. The bunny apparently was in her mind. It began whispering to her, possessing her, and eventually she found her actions were no longer her own. She started a cult against her own wishes, her body and mind now fully possessed by the golden bunny. The bunny had programmed her to do its bidding, and her landlord, she would soon find out, was a man obsessed with demonic possession who went by the name of Michael Afton. Number 3, the tapes. I found these tapes at a garage sale that were titled Pizzeria Biz. As I listened to them, I realized there were some sort of creepy confessions from a man who had seen something dastardly happen at a kid's pizza place. The more I listened, the more I found myself haunted by the ghost of an animatronic that was mentioned in the tape, a jolly but deadly character named Balloon Boy. The animatronic would haunt my nightmares, and I found myself in my dreams returning to a room that Balloon Boy had taken a young girl named Sally, mentioned in the tapes. I was tortured for what felt like eternity, and when I awoke, I found myself covered in bruises and cuts. I threw the tapes away the next day. Number 2, the Cereal Song. I have been the biggest FNAF fan since day one. I've played through every game multiple times and have all the collectible merch. My parents think it's just a phase and so aren't too concerned with getting me everything Five Nights themed that I asked for. I heard a rumor that they were actually making a cereal, so I asked for that cereal the next time that we were out, instead of my regular Reese Puffs. My parents agreed, and the next day I went downstairs for breakfast. There it was, Freddy Fazbear cereal. I hurriedly and excitedly poured myself a bowl. My parents were still asleep. I was so excited I got up early just to eat it. It was even still dark outside. As I poured the bowl though, I heard music began to play. It sounded like Freddy's music from the game. I looked in the box thinking it must be some kind of hidden sound recording like in a birthday card. I didn't see anything, so as I poured the milk with one hand, I reached with my other hand into the box, feeling around for what was making the sound. Then I felt something latch onto my hand. It was tearing my hand apart, shredding it. I screamed out in pain and noticed that the cereal bowl was filled with little nightmare frettles, which pounced on me and began to bite at my face. The milk I was pouring also appeared to be red and thick like blood. I got rid of all my FNAF stuff after that, and my parents are trying to sue the makers of the cereal, although we still haven't been able to track them down. Apparently the cereal was never for sale. It was never even created, but my missing hand and my scarred face remain as proof that someone must have been behind it. Number 1, time to play! I always loved playing FNAF, but my mom was consistently worried that the game was too scary and told me to stop playing. She kept nagging me. So to prove her wrong that the games were not too scary for me, I offered to let her play. Something you should know about my mom is that she's a scientist who works in robotics and AI. She actually works for a big company that everyone knows and is a big position there. Anyways, my mom accepted my offer, set on proving that the game was too scary, but she herself actually enjoyed the game, becoming obsessed like me. To the point that we actually bought a second gaming PC for my mom, which we kept down in the basement. My mom became so obsessed that I rarely saw her anymore except for dinner. But when I did see her, she looked really tired and run down, like she'd been staying up all night. One night, I awoke to the sound of what seemed like a church bell ringing. My room was pitch black, so I reached over for my night lamp. Clicking it on, I saw at the foot of my bed a life-size Freddy Fazbear animatronic replica. The bear tilted its head and said in the most blood-curdling, crackly voice, "Time to play."